Hello and welcome today to another episode of Cosmic Rabbit. Today we have back Dr. Zalce, Jose Zalce, who is a forensic doctor from Mexico studying the Nazca bodies since 2017. Hello, Dr. Zalce, how are you? Thanks for coming back today.
Hello, nice to meet you. Thanks for the invitation, and I'm here at your service to answer any questions or doubts you may have.
Perfect. Now for the people who, you and I already had the first interview where you talked a lot about the bodies, in what they talked about in the hearing this Saturday in the Peruvian Congress. So I'm going to put the link to that interview in the description, but I want for the people who might not watch or are new to this topic, can you tell us a bit about the findings and the methodology of the studies you've conducted so far?
I'd like to explain that there are two different bodies, or rather, two different species. Some are about 60 centimeters with unique features, and others are larger, around 1 to 1.7 meters tall with human like traits. However, both species are pterodactyl. Okay, both in hands and feet. To study these bodies, I've accessed 12 small ones and 8 large ones. The studies range from simple X-rays to CT scans at 64 and 128 cuts per millimeter. These CT scans were used for 3D reconstructions to get detailed millimeter level views. Fluoroscopies were done, which are real-time X-rays to see body movement and skeletal anatomy. Some were given DNA tests, carbon-14 tests, and spectrophotometry for metal implants with amazing results. These are the bodies and the methods used to get results. These results have been analyzed individually for each specimen and are the reports that have been given since 2017 to date. However, for the conference that took place in the Peruvian Congress this past Saturday, November 9th, 2 days ago, they specifically talked about the body of Maria, which is the body of 1.68 meter tall, a large body very similar to a human but with tridactyl characteristics, which is located at the University of Ica, and a small infant body called Wawita, which is also at the University of Ica. These were the two bodies analyzed during the conference. However, we have all the background of all the bodies that you have.
Okay, thank you very much for clarifying that. Okay, so can you explain what initiated the need for the hearing in the Peruvian Congress?
Well, that hearing aims to allow the scientific community to conduct more in-depth and more extensive studies on the bodies that the University of Ica has in custody. This conference is the second one because in 2018, I don't remember if it was in 18 or 19, I think it was in 18. We already had a conference also in the Peruvian Congress, which could not progress because of the COVID-19 pandemic, so it was left suspended. So it was to resume the topic of the existence of these bodies, recognize their existence, and at the same time promote the deepening and expansion of research on them.
Okay, I haven't had time to see the whole hearing because initially there were some audio problems, and I think the version with everything better, with the better audio, came out last night, so I haven't had time to see it completely. But I wanted to ask about Wawitita. My understanding was that this body is human or not human. Can you clarify that for me?
Of course, Wawita is a small infant body which is in a fetal position, very hunched, very closed, which makes its investigation very difficult. However, since 2017, when the X-rays and CT scans were taken, it was determined that this body has all the characteristics of a normal human being. However, it is striking that it has tridactyly in hands and feet, but this tridactyly seems to be artificial, that it suffered an amputation of the little finger and the thumb to have a tridactyl appearance. There are traces on the skin that make us suspect that it had manipulation, but it is the only body where this amputation manipulation has been found, the only one. We need to delve even deeper into the studies of Wawita. However, as we could see that perhaps it was probably amputated, we only have Wawita considered in the aspect of correlation with the bodies, because it was found in the same place as the 60 centimeter and large bodies. And we have it in correlation because of the antiquity, because it was also given carbon-14 test, and it is in direct relation to the antiquity of all the other bodies. That is the relevance of Wawi, which continues to be the subject and objective of study, although our tendency is to suppose that she is a normal human who was modified reductively, but it would be the only one in which this has been found.
Okay, and they saw, as you said, you just said that it was seen like on the surface that it seems they amputated these two fingers. Was it also seen in the CT scans in the bones at the bone level? Was that also seen, or was that not seen as well?
Yes, it was seen at the superficial level. Traces of what was a possible amputation of these two fingers are seen, and at the level of the X-rays and CT scans, the entire anatomical structure is found. All the carpal bones and the 5 metatarsals, metacarpals, the carpal bones, the 5 metacarpals, but only 3 fingers are seen. So that's where we have the suspicion that there is a probability that it was amputated both in hands and feet, both in carpal and metacarpal, as in the foot, in the tarsal and metatarsal.
Okay, okay, okay. And again, to clarify, in the other bodies like Maria, they don't have that metatarsal. Is it said they don't have that? Okay, okay.
In all the other bodies, we are talking about Maria, Sebastian, Santiago, and Monerrat. In them, the existence of the complete metacarpals and metatarsals is not seen. Only those corresponding to the tridactyly are seen. That is a very evident difference in the X-rays and CT scans.
Okay, very well, thank you. The forensic dentist John McDowell and his son, who is a lawyer, Josh McDowell, both mentioned that the purpose of this hearing for them was to obtain more permission to conduct more tests abroad. What was your main objective for this?
Obviously, we are all in the same sense and mindset with these bodies. And also, my objective is to allow the analysis, the sampling, or the complete analysis of the body in places like universities, institutes that have very advanced high-level technology that allows scientists to conduct broader and deeper studies. Why do I say this? The government of Peru has already issued a document from the Public Ministry of Peru through its Department of Molecular Biology and Genetics, where they themselves say that both the DNA and the structural study of these bodies require specialists they do not have, human resources they do not have, and that they require. Technology for its interpretation that they do not have. And in that document, the recommendation is made that it is necessary to turn to other instances, institutions, universities, and scientists who have the technical preparation to conduct these studies. Based on that document, Dr. John McDowell and his son Joshua McDowell, biologist Ricardo Rangel, and I agree that the Main goal is to have these bodies move to places where their study can be deepened or allow scientists to come to the University of Ica to take the necessary samples to confirm or expand the results we have already presented.
All right, thank you. I think I wanted to bring this to light because I believe many people might get confused. Where I know where you are and where Dr. McDowell is, you've told me, and Josh has also told me that you respect each other a lot. You have a very nice, very strong professional relationship. And I know that maybe you have some differences in opinions. For example, they are saying they haven't reached any exact conclusion about the bodies. And I imagine, I don't know, it makes sense to me that since you've studied the bodies since 2017, your opinion would be deeper and more specific than, for example, Dr. McDowell's. What do you think about that, and how has this collaboration helped in the search for the truth?
Indeed, Dr. John McDowell is a huge authority in forensic sciences. His career in the US in forensic investigation is a starting point and of relevance for many investigations, even for the training of students. They are specializing in forensic sciences. Dr. John McDowell is a very high point of reference. I didn't know him personally, although I already knew of him because I've read books and articles published by him. So having the opportunity to meet him, regardless of the surprise and satisfaction of approaching such a person, it was even more surprising that we had a tie, a coincidence in thoughts and in the structure of the investigation on these bodies. Indeed, I've been studying them since 2017, and I have results from laboratory images or technology applied to the analysis of these bodies. Dr. McDowell is just starting to do this, which doesn't mean we are different. On the contrary, it's simply a matter of time. I started earlier and he will do the same as I did, but at this time, what is expected here is that his results fully match the ones I have. So far, that has been the case. The results of X-ray interpretation, the results of tomography interpretation, the results of reports from some laboratories he has had are matching with mine. And that strengthens our relationship because he is confirming and reaffirming what has already been said. What is the only difference here? That I said it in Spanish and he is saying it in English. Therefore, for the English-speaking community, it's easier to understand the results in their own language. This doesn't mean they are different from mine. It means they confirm the results that we, through the team led by Jaime Mozan, already have. This is very important because it would be the first peer review conducted by two different teams in two different countries that agree on the results, and this would give greater validity. But our level is subject to improvement with institutions and universities that have more advanced equipment that allows for deeper exploration of these results.
In these, very well, thank you. Well, I like to see that because I know many scientists have had to face other people, other scientists who disrespect them. So I really like it. Seeing you two respect each other to get to the truth. This finding, sorry, Josh McDowell had posted on a social media. account that they received positive comments from several congressmen. Did the same thing happen to you when you went to talk to them directly, or can you tell us a bit about how that conversation went?
Look, after we participated in the congressional conference, where 3 congressmen were present, when it ended, we had the opportunity to talk with them, with all 3. 2 of them, Congressman Raimundo, who is the president of the Culture Commission, and Congressman Takuri, who organized the entire conference, were very surprised, but above all, very interested in learning even more about the investigations and the results. And they also showed interest in promoting the need for the study of these bodies. However, the third one, I don't remember the name right now, but he was the one sitting to the right of the president. The president of the commission that led the conference was sitting to the right. He kept a little more distance and was a bit more reluctant, taking a balanced stance. While some said yes, he said no. So maintaining balance in the conference. But when we left the conference, curiosity got the better of him and he approached us to ask many questions. Because he wanted to know and learn more, curiosity got the better of him, but he did it.
At the end of well, at least they were interested in the presentation you gave, because it's very different. The bodies are very different from what Estrada presented, Flavio Estrada. So I think that was very obvious.
Not only are they different, they are completely distinct. It's like, sorry for the example, but it's like trying to compare an apple with a banana. They have nothing to do with each other.
I agree. I forgot to say that obviously we want to talk about what happened after the hearing, but we also have 3 new specimens. So at the end, we can show the photos and you can give us your first impressions.
Okay, okay.
To go back to the hearing, and I know it's only been 2 or 3 days since the hearing, but what have you seen as the public's reaction?
The reaction has unfortunately been slow because, first of all, on Saturday, when the hearing was held, there wasn't a complete broadcast because there were many difficulties. The equipment that was going to be used for the broadcast there in Congress was used for another event. They took it out of the room and took it to another event. So the internet and the broadcast that was going to be done couldn't be carried out. Thanks to the presence of the Tercer Milenio team with Jaime Mossan, they were able to make a broadcast on their own. However, this broadcast had internet flow issues. So there were parts where it got stuck or the audio was lost, the image was lost, but this was due to the local internet flow within Congress, but it was recorded. So I understand that the Tercer Milenio team, if not yesterday, will upload the entire complete recording of what happened at the conference today or tomorrow. So the reactions have been slow because they haven't seen the entire conference in a continuous flow. They've seen it in bits and pieces, and from the reactions I've been able to learn about, I think they have been mostly positive. Why? Because everyone agrees that the bodies should and need to be studied even more. And not only studied, but the results of these studies should be published. That for me is very positive.
Well, I know they uploaded the version without errors and problems last night, so I will also include the link in the description of this video for people who will want to see it. There were reports that there were changes in the time allocated for each person and that some experts still couldn't speak. Do you know the reason behind that?
Well, look, and yes, I'm aware. At first, we were considered to have 7 people from the team that investigated the bodies speak.
Okay.
We were 7. However, there in Peru, due to differences within Congress, they decided to invite the counterpart, the government representation. Since they brought 3 people, only 3, they decided that of the 7 of us who were going to speak, only 3 would speak to be equal, 3 to 3. Here, the time we were offered was 15 minutes. Each of us, 15 and 15 per person. However, in the end, we were told at the conference that we had 10 minutes, and someone from the Congress would give us a note saying, 1 minute, please finish, as the time approached. So we were pressured to 10 minutes, but the government side was allowed 15 minutes. So there was already a difference. In exchange for this, that they could speak for 15 minutes each, and we could only speak for a maximum of 10 minutes. In exchange for that, since it was a parliament, an open congress, and an open conference, the floor was given to whoever requested it, and that's where the floor was given to Mr. Jaime Maussan, biologist Ricardo Rangel, Joyce Mantilla, but under the condition that they only had 3 minutes to express themselves. Therefore, the amount of time assigned to present was nothing. You can't present 7 years of research in 3 minutes or in 10 minutes. However, we did our best, and each of us was able to express what we considered most important in this short time given to us to present our results.
Do you think they will, well, I imagine they will hold another hearing, but how long do you think it will take for the next?
The intention was mentioned, the intention to hold another was mentioned, but it was not said when, with whom, or for how long. There is no information about it. The intention, the will to do it exists, but there are still no details for the materialization and carrying out of the next conference. There isn't.
And I think they had said they wanted to do it at the University of Ica, right?
That's correct. The possibility of doing it in ICA was mentioned, since there have already been 2 in the Congress, but it hasn't been done at the University of ICA, which has the bodies. So the intention would be to take it there so that the bodies are present and we can talk and discuss the bodies that are the object and objective of study. And this is because, as you rightly saw, you notice, and everyone can see, the bodies presented by the authority are different, unrelated, completely different from the ones we are talking about.
And do you think that someday those scientists or those people like Flavio Estrada will look at the bodies of the University of Ica, do some exams or studies, investigate those bodies?
I don't think so, because if they haven't done it in 7 years, I don't think they'll do it in the near future, especially when they represent the authority. And being the authority, they have already taken a stance. They will hardly retract from that. I don't think they will.
Okay. Well, thank you. Let's go to the part that I imagine everyone wants to see. And those are the photos of the ones you said after the hearing, they took you to an event and showed you 3 more bodies, 3 new bodies. So we have the exclusive today that you have given us. Thank you very much. I will start with the first one, and you can tell us if there are any differences between the bodies of, for example, Maria Santiago and the ones I will show. And also, before starting, do the congressmen know about these new bodies or not yet?
No, nobody knew. Nobody knew about these bodies until we finished the conference and all the activities. They took us to a place they consider safe. They took us to a place to show us these new 3 bodies that nobody knew about. They are new. I mean, according to what they explained to us, they had just been delivered a week ago. And so we are just discovering, seeing, and analyzing them. It was an incredible surprise because we weren't mentally prepared to see them. And yes, they are three new bodies, very interesting, large bodies like Maria.
And do you know if they were found in the same cave or wherever they were found with Maria? And okay, found.
In the same cave, in the same area, but not in the same place. It was a little deeper where they managed to find them.
Okay, I think the exact location is still unknown, right?
Some people already know the real and true location, but they are very few. You can count them on one hand. Those who know the precise location, the location that is known or has been made public, and some images and so on, well, that's a secondary location.
Okay, I'm going to share the screen here. Okay, let's start with the first specimen. How does it look now? Do you see it there?
It looks very good. To me, it looks good.
Okay, let's see. Tell us about this. I noticed that look right here, like on the left side, it looks like hair.
Hair, no, this body is very interesting. First, it has all the organs, all the skin, all the adipose tissue of the skin is loaded to the left side, which tells us that its position was left lateral recumbent. Therefore, by gravity, all the skin tissue, skin fat, and so on slid to the left. And that slightly modifies the expressions. For example, on the face, you can see that it has the nose and mouth like a kind of beak. That kind of beak is merely the tissue that is slid, pushed to the left side by a normal gravity process. But the relevant thing about this body indeed is what you are mentioning. It is the only one in which hair has been found. The entire head is covered with hair of a coppery brown color, very, very red haired. The truth is that it is very interesting because it is the first mummy, the first body in which we find hair in this group. Very interesting. And also in this photograph, besides the hair, you could slightly distinguish what would be an auricular pavilion, something that in other specimens you find the auditory hole, but you don't see the pavilion. And here we could distinguish a hint of what is the auditory pavilion. And it is also relevant to point out that in the jaw, there is a bluish green space in this part of the jaw. That is some metal. And there we can see how this metal did react with the bone. And then in the center, in a bluish green color, you can see the metal, but around it, you can see a perimeter of bone indicating an inflammatory process. This is relevant because it would explain that while alive, a procedure was done to embed a metal, allowing time for the bone to form a callus, a bony callus as a peripheral inflammatory reaction. That metal. This is a clear example that we're talking about a specimen, a body that was once alive, and not that it's something artificial or made, but that it is 100% real and its originality is genuine.
And what do you say about what you think? What's your opinion? To me, it seems like the head is a bit smaller than the others, or the head is a bit smaller, yes, more like a human than the others, like Maria were.
Closer to a normal parameter, so both the head and the jaw are a bit more retracted, smaller, closer to what a current human is, yet it has a small hint of a posterior elongation that with X-rays and CT scans we can determine if the size corresponds to a human or is larger, or is smaller. Two, whether it has elongation or not. And most importantly, three, Its volume capacity, whether it's the same as ours or more extensive like Maria's. Maria has 30% more volume capacity.
All right. Okay, thanks. Yes, I did notice that. Let's see. Let's go to the second one. Well, this is the front face of the first one you mentioned was a bit disfigured, obviously because of how it was positioned.
Exactly, this is the same photograph as before, the same specimen, but viewed from the front. And there we can see the facial deformity, but it's only due to tissue deterioration. It doesn't mean that's its original face.
Exactly. Let's see. Here is the second specimen.
Yes, correct.
Oh, sorry. Okay.
This is the second specimen. It's a bit smaller, more compact. You can also see the tridactyly in both hands and feet. And what's relevant about this specimen is that its oral cavity allowed us to observe the teeth. Here we need to do a deeper study on the teeth because it seems to have dental work for molar wear. This needs to be analyzed further. We can't confirm it yet. It needs a bit more analysis. But this body is indeed smaller. It's specimen 2. And what's relevant about it is it has no hair or anything. What's relevant is the oral cavity and the teeth.
And see, this is also specimen number 2, which is a bit closer. I wanted to show this specifically because of the fingers. There, well, I don't know if this specimen.
As you can see there in the fingers and in the humerus bone. In the arm, it has thinner bones, more delicate, more fragile. This tells us it's a very small body with very small muscle development, but the hands are tridactyl and have the same characteristics as these larger bodies, having longer fingers, but there's no major difference from what we've found so far.
Okay, very good. And I wanted to go to number 3. Here we go.
This body is about a little bigger than Maria's body. It's roughly the same proportion, although this one is a bit bigger. First, second, on the forehead in a rectangular shape, it has a gold-colored implant with some engraved points on the metallic implant. And third and most spectacular about this body is that it's the first one where we've been able to find external sexual genitalia. This seems to have a scrotal sac of the testicles, a remnant of what could be the male genital apparatus. It still needs to be confirmed with X-ray studies, CT scans, and tissue approaches. However, it could be the first one where we find genitalia and addition to its size, the plate on the forehead. It's a very interesting specimen that needs to be studied. I insist, we barely had no more than 2 hours to see them, and we weren't prepared mentally or with the itinerary to see them at that moment and so quickly. We need to delve deeper into the study.
Of course, of course. Wow. Yes, that is very impressive. Here is another photo of it. I think it's this one with the implant for you to see.
Yes. And there I'm cleaning the implant to see the surface. And there we see it had some decorative dots. I don't know if it's decoration or something, but it had a relief of dots on the implant.
And it also has, I'm going to show you, but you can see very clearly like teeth, right?
Is that correct? It has very exposed front teeth. They are very exposed. You can see them at a glance, the teeth.
Let's see. Is it this one here?
Yes, that's it, correct. There are the teeth. What you see inside the oral cavity of the mouth are its teeth. That's right.
Wow. And you had already told me, you had already said that this specimen specifically hasn't undergone all the tests yet, obviously, because they had 2 hours to do tests with the others,
Nothing.
even if they only saw them.
It was a surprise, and we saw them very quickly and well. With them, we'll have to start from scratch with these three.
Let's see. Thank you very much for giving us these photos and explaining your first impressions with the photos.
It was my pleasure.
I wanted to ask if you already have names for the bodies or not yet.
Not yet. Officially, we haven't named them yet. However, it's being proposed that the one with the moved face, the one with the modified face, which seems to have a beak, be called Paloma. The second specimen, the small one with arms like this, is being proposed to be called Antonio. And the last one, the big one, we're thinking of calling either Fernando or Joyce.
When do you think you'll have the opportunity to return to study these bodies, or who will continue the study of these bodies?
I will continue the study of their bodies, but I can't tell you when I'll return and what I'm going to do. Okay, and for now,
I imagine they are going to give them to the university.
yes.
Last question, because this is what I didn't know much about this topic, the tourist topic, and they're talking about making a museum. Yes. Do you know if that's confirmed or not yet?
Look, that's a wish, a desire of Mr. Jaime Maussan. He wants these bodies, and all the bodies there are to stay in Peru, but to be exhibited to the public in Peru. For this, a special museum is required that has the means to allow the conservation and preservation of the bodies. However, to achieve this, it is necessary for research and science to recognize them and recognize the value they have. If you gather the acceptance of science, your value, that justifies the museum. And if in the museum we achieve their conservation, then that will cause many people from all over the world to go there to see them and get to know them.
Now, last question. Sorry, I know we both have other engagements. I wanted to ask another question. Here I see 2 holes, but I also think I see 2 here. Or am I right or wrong?
Well, it's an artifact, it's a deformity due to the position of the tissues, but no, it has nothing to do with it. It has a nose, and the nose has only 2 holes. What looks strange is a deformity of the tissue. That's all.
Thank you very much. Let's see.
Okay.
Well, Dr. Zalce, thank you very much for giving us your time and for sharing your first impressions of these findings, the latest, the newest bodies. I don't know if you want to say something else before we say goodbye.
On the contrary, thank you very much for your interest and the dissemination you give to this and all your support for these investigations. And thank you for the opportunity to let me express to you everything we are advancing day by day and little by little. Obviously, the whole team of Third Millennium, Mr. Jaime Maussan, all of us involved, scientists like Dr. John McDowell, his son Joshua, biologist Dr. Ricardo Rangelme, all of us, I thank you very much for giving us this opportunity, and it's a pleasure. Whenever needed, I'll be here with you again.
Thank you very much. Likewise. No, thank you very much. And we hope things progress more so we can learn more about these new bodies and that the Congress advances to recognize these bodies.
Hopefully, it will be so that their investigation is allowed in other instances, in other institutes, with other scientists, so we can advance and delve deeper. So be it.
Well, thank you very much for everything you've done, all the time you've put into this investigation. Thank you very much for being with us today, Dr. Zalce.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.